Everyone, thanks for joining in person and online. My name is Austyn Sorensen. I'm the safety intern here at AC Electric Company, recent grad from Bakersfield College in Occupational Safety and Risk Management. And this is my final intern presentation. So let's talk about AC Electric Company. So what does AC Electric Company do? Well, let's go over the agenda. So I'm going to talk about AC Electric Company. I'm going to go over a little bit about my internship experience, what I did, what I learned, and then I'm going to have a recommendation for the company based on the readings that we had in our book club, which I will touch on soon. So AC Electric Company. AC Electric Company was founded in 1945. We do electrical construction of all kinds, which is in our vision statement here. We want to be the leader in electrical construction, industrial automation, services, and safety in the markets that we serve. So what does that actually mean? So electrical construction, we do, I see what Hudson was talking about, that is very easy to do. So electrical construction, we do all sorts of buildings, we do remodels, casinos, schools, anything you could possibly think of, we build it, we put electrical into it. Industrial automation, PLC, PAC programming, security systems, fire alarms. We even do oil field maintenance, and all of this 24/7 service and maintenance after the fact. So what goes into that? Our mission. So we want to relentlessly pursue an accident-free workplace. I love that, but that is the number one bullet point is safety. I'd like to point out that we are over halfway through the year with this company, and we have 0 recordable incidents so far. So next is earn unparalleled loyalty between us and our customers. We want to differentiate ourselves through turnkey solutions, high quality work. We want to build teams of the best and brightest that our industries have to offer, and through all of that, exceeding our stakeholder expectations. So how do we do these? Through our 8 core values of integrity, quality, professionalism, knowledge, service, family, community, and safety. So that all sounds all happy and professional, but how do we actually know that we're successful in that? Well, we have our roadmap and goals, which are the 2025 conditions of satisfaction, which I'm told there's now the 2030 that's being finalized here pretty soon. So people, really big on leadership in this company, which again I'll touch on soon with our readings. But you see here in the vision, it says to be the leader in electrical construction, industrial automation, and so on. What does it mean for a company to be a leader? A company is not just one person making a decision, it's made of several people. In our case, it's several hundred people. And in order for a company to be a leader, it's got to be built of leaders. So that is a big foundation of this company. Markets, we want to be very involved in the communities that we work through. We want to be expanding. We're looking to expand maybe back into Southern California, where we used to be in Ontario, and into Northern California around the Sacramento area. Growth. We want to have, there it is again. We want to have 22% growth in annual income with 140 million by the end of the 2024 fiscal year. Pre-construction, very big. Where are we at right now? Construction services building. This whole place is designed specifically for prefabrication for our people out in the field. That's a big, and it also has to do with our reading 2-second lean. I'm sure everybody here knows about 2-second lean, and if you don't on the live stream, I will get there. But pre-construction is a big part of that. We don't want our field crews to be out there braving the environment and the weather, putting together complex systems that we could be doing here in a much more controlled environment, and then shipping them out to them right when they need it. All they got to do is install it. And another thing that does well for the company is that sets us apart. It gives us a competitive advantage because we are able to take on more complex jobs, being able to do that. And services and special products, we want at least 25% of our work portfolio and income to come from special services. So now I will go on to the internship experience. So this internship logo here I pulled off the AC website, and Michelle has said these exact words quite a few times, so I'll go into why I believe this to be true. So what does AC actually do for interns specifically? And this is a mixture of things that happen during work and outside of work. So dinners, we had 4 dinners that were just interns, where we met with Fresno and Bakersfield. We met once in Fresno, 1 in Bakersfield, and then 2 in Tulare to meet halfway. And that is not including 1 introduction dinner that we had at Darren's house, where we had a pizza competition. I won't get into who won that, because it wasn't me. And then that's also not including one we're having next week. That's going to involve all of our intern families. So field visits, we had 2 big field visits that we did with all the interns. One was in Fresno, led by Frank Reyes, and then one was in Bakersfield, led by Steve White. That was really cool to experience that with everybody. 11 manager meet and greets, the up close and personal, a lot of them in this exact room, where it's just the interns, someone in a leadership position, and we just get to know them, get advice, and that actually, we're having another one with Kyle Sanders next week, so that should be 12. Workshops, we had a resume building workshop, a LinkedIn workshop, and a mock interview. So those were all very helpful. And of course the book club, where we read 2 Second Lean by Paul Akers. If you haven't read that, not only should you read it, but also there's no reason not to, because it is a very short, easy read. You could probably read it in an hour if you wanted to, and then you should reread it and then reread it a 3rd time. All about being as efficient as possible, finding ways you can cut time in what you're doing without sacrificing quality, and then once you've cut it down again, say, how can I do that again? And you're just always getting faster, while also trying to retain that quality. Extreme Ownership with Jocko Willink and Leif Babin, ex-Navy SEALs. Big on leadership, and the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. We are currently working through that. We're about halfway through that. So who I worked with. I wanted to include these 2 pictures in this section because the first week that I was here, I was over at B Division, and just as I was starting to get used to everybody that was around me, we up and moved to CS, and the only person that I stayed next to was Bob. So whole big change. Was surrounded by a bunch of changing people, but the 4 that I was mostly with are obviously my safety department, which is Bob Mahan, the safety director, Jose Ramos, the safety manager, Cassandra Apple, safety coordinator, and Juan De Rotor, also safety coordinator up in Fresno. So what were my responsibilities during my internship? I had a lot. So JHA and Geotab reports, I'm sure many people in this room got emails every Monday showing our compliance for JHA and safety bulletin reports that our foremen do out in the field. I handled those every Monday. 811 Pro Course certification. That was a big part of like my first week orientation. Had to get those. I knew a bit about 811 from school, but I was not certified, so that was a big eye opener for a lot of that information. Safety coin. Anybody that's submitted any safety coin redemption, I handled that for the most part. Drug testing, sending a lot of those out. The new higher safety orientation was revised, and I did the voiceover for it, which is on the wiki and on the YouTube channel if you want to listen to my voice more. I have been sitting next to Rob and Logan out in the office here since I came to CS, and when they heard that I was doing the voiceover for that, they said that I should be compensated for my voice acting. I've yet to hear more about that. But foreman safety training, went up to Fresno twice on 2 separate occasions to participate in the training we do for a foreman. It's at the IBEW. They get credits for it. I didn't get credits for it, but I'm not part of the union. So more field visits. So I did a lot of them myself just because obviously safety department, and I will go a lot more into that after this. Safety data sheets. I am currently working on an audit of all the company's chemical inventory. So I've done one here at CS, finishing up one at B. I did headquarters, and Dylan here in his shop. And then next week I'm going to be going up to Visalia and Fresno to conduct one there. And then a massive part of what I've been working on is training QR codes, which I will touch on a little bit later as well. So I'm just going to walk through some pictures here of things. I'm going to go through them real quick that just out in the outside sort of explain some of the things that we saw. So this is at, I believe, KHS, the carport. And so I was seeing them put the pillars in the ground that hold up the solar panels. So it's pretty cool. This was the first site that I went to. This is, he's probably here putting concrete around those. This is the finished product once all the concrete's in place. And then this is them ready for the solar panels to go on. What's really cool about this site is this was the first one that I went to, and it's one of the last ones I went to. I went to it 4 times, and it's really cool to see things being built. So the first time I get there, there was probably only 1 or 2 of these that had solar panels on them, off in one section of the parking lot. And every time I came out, there's more of them up. And at this point, there was only one section that didn't have panels on them. So that was really cool to see the progress happening. This is at BC. This was really cool for me to be a student walking around the campus at less than a month before, and then I show up with my hard hat on, walking around the same campus with my employer. That was really interesting. This is the new athletic center that's being built. Also the athletic center, I just really liked the way the ceiling looked there, the conduit in place, and like there really, if you look close, there's a lot of stuff going on there, but it just kind of all blends together real nice. This was on top of BHS. We went up there to see what fall protection might need to be in place for any work that's going up there, and the skyline just looked fantastic, so I got a picture of that. This is this was a water pump out near Wasco. Somebody broke in and stole all the copper out. And I've been told it was done while he was alive. I don't know how you managed to do that and get away with it, but apparently they did. As you can see, they just cut right through the fence, came in, took it all out. And we got to go in and replace it. So this is one of the schools that we're remodeling. We needed to get up on the roof, and we're using a scissor lift. There's a gap. We don't want people crossing a gap to get onto the roof, so we had to work around that. And the reason that was happening is because the access ladder was not installed, and then all of this network room stuff was put in place, and so how are you supposed to get a ladder in there? So we got to wait for them to actually install the access ladder as it was supposed to be. But this is the exact same site. This is up on the scissor lift. What you do not see in this picture is Cassandra and Jose behind me arguing with each other about who's more afraid of the height. And apparently they weren't focused on me because they did not see how tightly I was gripping that rail. So I think I won that battle. This was the intern group out in Madera, I believe, at the high school there. They were building the stadium, installing lights. And I really like the look of all the pillars being molded in place. There was a lot going on this site. And this is White Pine Solar. Massive solar field. I'm told it's small. So, I mean, it's just rows and rows of these. There's even more behind this picture. So what did I learn from all this? So first week, really big, learning all the SOPs for the company. That was a fantastic refresher coming from school where I spent 2 semesters learning about this stuff, and then I just get all the company's procedures on top of it. Some are more strict than what the bare minimum is. That's fantastic. So I gotta learn extra about that one. I put a little note here, the work next to roadways one in particular. So the big thing that I learned in classes, the professor at BC, Catherine Jones, she told us several times, do not be afraid to contact the writers of the regulations that you're looking at. If something's confusing, you need clarification, ask them. They will respond to you. So that's exactly what I did. I was looking at Bob gave me the Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices from Caltrans, and I was reading through that massive document, and there was a section where some words didn't match. There was one word that was being used and did not have a definition anywhere in the document, and it was only used one time. So I messaged the writer of the document, said, hey, can you define this for me? And they basically said, it's the same thing. So I don't know why they use that word in that location, but I guess that happens. 811 procedures, again, that's very important when we're doing any sort of digging. That you do not want to hit utility. There's very large potential for death in that, and people getting hurt there. It's also extremely costly, sets back everything to get it fixed. No one wants that to happen. I kind of, I'll be driving around when I'm outside of work and I'll see markings on the line. I'll be like, oh, that's red, that's electricity. Like, I know what all the markings mean now. Heat illness, massive right now. We're in hundreds of degrees right now. Cal OSHA has very strict guidelines on what is required when working at certain temperatures. And we need a lot of shade, we need a lot of water, and we need breaks. It's very easy for people to overwork themselves, have heat exhaustion, and in very bad cases, they can have a heat stroke and die. Very, very easy for that to happen, and people do not take it as seriously as they should. Risk transfer, that's a very big part of the company. I learned is if something's unsafe, we just don't do it. So a big, not exactly risk transfer, but stop work authority. If you know something's safe, you don't do it. But more importantly, in risk, or specifically in risk transfer, there are certain things that we just don't feel comfortable doing, and we'll hire somebody else to do it for us. We do not work on live systems. We try as hard as we can to not go into excavations that are more than 5 feet in deep. We do not do work out in the middle of the road if we can avoid that. That's just not safe enough for us. Note taking is a massive one, which I will cover a lot over the course of the QR code fiasco. And the biggest takeaway that I've had in this whole internship is that I've been told by just about everybody leading up to this internship and even going into school for safety, all my friends and family. In fact, I literally just connected with somebody from high school about a week ago. I hadn't talked to, and we were reconnecting, saying, oh, what are you doing for work and stuff? And I said, I'm a safety intern. Always the reaction is, oh man, they probably hate you there. That is not the case here. There's so much communication, there's so much working together that happens. I've never encountered somebody that has had like a negative reaction to safety here. Bob is probably, when I sit right next to his office, he's probably one of the most visited people in the whole office. Always people trying to talk to him. We go out to the foreman safety trainings and they're all focused on what we're talking about. We go out in the field with Cassandra and Jose, and everybody is very open to anything that needs to be discussed. So that was a good realization for me, and it set a standard in my mind, because I like for this to be the case anywhere else that I go. So the training QR codes. So as I talked through this, feel free to scan this. This is going to pull up our General Superintendent, Steve White. It'll pull up his training record that we currently have. It is just a demo for this QR code, so there might be a couple dates or something like that might not be 100% correct, but it gives you a good layout. So this was the largest project. I've been working on this basically since I got here, and it's still happening, and it'll probably keep happening after I'm gone. So Bob came to me in the first week and he said, hey, the training files are a mess. I'd like you to reorganize them, and then also I want QR codes on people's hard hats so we can just scan them and pull up everything just like this does here. So I want to just preface this by saying our original way we handle training, and kind of the way we do it right now while we're getting this set up, is if someone's out in the field and we need to verify that they have certain training, they've got an email, and it's usually me that picks it up, and then I've got to go into Spectrum and I've got to find their records and then see are they actually trained, and then send a confirmation back. So that takes a lot of time. It's also it can sometimes be difficult to sort through that information. So this makes it extremely efficient to just go in, have a QR code on people's hard hats, you scan it, you know immediately everything that they've got. Another great learning experience as well was in that first week when he came to me, he also said, okay, I have some companies in mind, look at them, build me a presentation, and recommend me one. And at first I thought like, oh, he probably has one in mind already and he's just gonna have me look through it. And that might even have been the case, but it didn't seem that way. It seemed like what I was doing and everything that I have done here has had an actual impact on the company. We sat down and went through the presentation. I recommended one. He says, 100% agree, let's move forward. And we're working on that now. So now I'm gonna go into a little bit about what that process was like. Because again, that was the most time-consuming thing in the internship. And this is where that note-taking skill comes in. That was probably the biggest skill that I learned here because I didn't take very many notes before this, but I learned I had to. So in reorganizing these trainings and prepping them to migrate to another system, I had to learn a lot, and I realized very quickly, especially after the first book we read was Lean, and so we're reading through this and we're learning how to optimize certain parts of our lives and stuff, and I'm trying to think, okay, how can I apply this to work? And I realized very quickly that this process was very involved, it was very time consuming. This took me weeks to go through, and if I was going to have to go through this process, then the person that comes after me is also going to have to go through the exact same process unless it is very defined. And so this is my first page of notes on, and then second, and another one, and another one. And this is all just on renaming files and then preparing them to transfer to another database, basically. So a lot that went into that, and I want to also emphasize that this is not an individual problem. This isn't something that just became a problem right before I started my internship. This is not something that somebody just made a mistake and everything got screwed up. This is years and years of small decisions here and there compounding on each other until we have a mess that's got to be taken care of like this. So we have now condensed all of that into a very nice digestible format of a how-to in our safety files for whoever comes next to have to do all that. And then Darren has had us put together a process map, which we are currently finalizing. So getting all that taken care of. So what was my recommendation for the company? So the company that we went with for the QR codes is called Anchor Rock. And they have a few different packages for what they offer. We went so far with the bare minimum, which is just the training QR codes, because that was the goal. That's all we really cared about. But after looking through a lot of what they have to offer, we see that they have a lot of the things that we do through a bunch of different programs, they have under one nice organized safety hub. And so that's what I would recommend is moving up to their safety hub. So in a big part of that, what I think we need is equipment, inspection, and documentation. That was another project that I haven't been able to get to yet, is we were supposed to have fall protection equipment inspections, figure out an exact process for that. I think this is a great way to handle that. As you can see, there is a sections, and also it takes 2 clicks of a button to get to this list. And they also have apps, so you can do it out in the field, you can do it wherever you want. So it'll very simply pull up a quiz, basically, and it's an inspection guide, and you'll just pass, fail, and then you have that documentation for every piece of equipment, have it labeled. So you can do that for fall protection stuff, we can do that for vehicles, trailers, machinery. I'm sure a lot of people got an email recently, there was a problem with some trailer hitches. We actually mentioned in Brody's presentation, they mentioned they were putting QR codes on that. This can go hand in hand, scan the QR code, it'll pull up the SOP. You could also have it pull up an inspection sheet, so you know exactly what you should be looking for. Fire extinguishers and first aid. I think that's something that people don't think about a lot unless they specifically have to. I know we are recertifying all of our fire extinguishers right now, so that puts in my mind, well, this is a good reminder. It tells you exactly what you should be looking for when you do an inspection. A11 dig tickets, also very, very big. I've touched on A11 a few times now. Obviously, if you call and you get a dig ticket, it's going to expire, and you need to either refresh it or clear it, and make sure you have everything that you need before that thing expires. So having this in place, you can actually keep a record of them. We know the exact date that they're going to expire. We know where the boundaries are. We have everything that we need to know to do a refresh, or just have documentation that we actually did it. Incident reports. Now some of you might be thinking, we already do that in Procore. This has Procore integration. So it could be, maybe you still submit the incident report through Procore, but it also, since we have all of this organized in the safety hub, maybe you submit it in Procore, but you're already in Anchorrock. You don't want to have two tabs open and switching between them all. You have everything right here, all organized. J-chain safety bulletins, the exact same thing. We currently use GoForms for that. I haven't done too much detailed looking into what a switch like that would look like. I know that GoForms is used for a lot of different departments, not just that. So, but I do think that if you were to go up to, it's called the HQ packages, the next step up from the training codes. If you were to do that, it would be included. So I think it is absolutely worth looking into at least. And then if there's not something that you like here, you can create your own. So anything that you could possibly think of, or you want an inspection list, you can create your own. And I have another here of trailer hitch, pass, fail, doors. This is all for trailers. And that's it for my recommendation. So any questions?
My question for you is, what would you like to see more or less of in future internships, but speaking specifically from the position of like the field that you kind of came from and that you operated in while you were here? So like in the safety realm, like,
yeah,
what would you like to see, like maybe more or less of that could benefit? Like,
man, this is gonna sound really bad, but I want more to go wrong on a job site, because there's a lot to learn from there. Obviously, you don't want things to go wrong, and stuff doesn't. A lot of the job walks we did were very easy. Everything's being done correctly for the most part. So I found when there was solving to be done, it was extremely insightful, but it was actually pretty rare that something really needed to be, like there was a significant problem that needed to be looked at. So yeah, I don't know how to really, really have that sort of experience without, unfortunately, something needing that to be looked at.
Margaret, go ahead.
Yeah, what was your criteria that you used to evaluate the software before you made a recommendation, and what other software packages did you look at?
So big thing was just price and user friendliness. There were a lot of other companies available that just didn't seem very up to date or well taken care of. And sort of a big part of this one as well is sort of in the back of my mind. I was looking at like, wow, they have a lot more to offer as well. Let's just aside from the QR codes. So that's a big one. And then also just how easy it is to implement. Yeah, because obviously, like I said, there's a lot that goes into transferring from between systems. Like we're taking everything from Spectrum right now, and we have to transfer it over. Some companies will just have you do that by yourself. The one we're working with claims that they're going to do most of it for us. So yeah, that's quite a bit of what went into it.
So was this one light years ahead of the others that you were looking at, or were there other close contenders?
For the most part, yeah. There was one other one called Stack that was the main competitor with it, and yeah, it just seemed really outdated. Oh, just click to the plunge.
Good.
Any other questions?
So out of the 3 books that you read during your internship, which one was your favorite?
Extreme Ownership. That's so easy too. It's just the way it's written, how much information is actually packed into it. I did say read 2 Second Lane. It's very impactful. I think there's a lot to gain out of that, but I would say my biggest gripe with that one was it's extremely repetitive. For such a tiny book that is about being efficient, it still manages to have a lot of repetition inside of it. I think you could probably condense that book into like 10 pages if you really wanted to. But Extreme Ownership, every single page of that is either informative or at the very least entertaining. Yeah, I love that book.
Great, thank you.
What was your most challenging moment during this internship program that you can kind of recall and speak to how you kind of maybe overcame the challenge, or maybe almost in the same question as Hudson, like how did you kind of face your own personal paradigm shift going through this process?
I mean, just learning to communicate with people. That's probably the biggest one for me, and I don't think I'm 100% there yet, but it was definitely helpful. The amount, like having to go out in the field and talk to foremen that are very knowledgeable about what they do, and they're very experienced, and I am not in their field. That's it's very intimidating, but it's also very very interesting, and it's that was very helpful being put into those situations.
Looking back on your internship, what would you have come in and done differently?
Probably that is talk to more people, which that was recommended a lot, and I definitely did not do it enough. And I would recommend that anybody that is that might be coming into this next year would really think about that.
What was the part that got you the most excited about coming in here every day?
Oh, definitely the job blocks.
Yeah.
Yeah, just going out and seeing what's being built, who's doing it, how are they doing it. It was very exciting. One thing that was really cool to see was when we were at KHS the last time. It was with all the interns. Steve White was walking us around, and I asked about some of the boring drawings on the ground, and he walked us through the whole process of how the boring machine works, how they control it, how they maneuver it through the ground. So yeah, that stuff that makes me very happy to go and see.
Any last questions for Austyn? All right, well, thank you so much, Austyn.